He found her in a junkyard. What he saw made her royalty in his eyes. Asterisk. The Discoverith morning sun cast long shadows across Riverside Salvage Yard as Jake Thornton pulled his rusty pickup truck through the gates. He had been coming to this place for 3 years now, searching for car parts to keep his auto repair shop running. The owner, Old Pete, had given him a key months ago, trusting him to come and go as he pleased. Jake loved the quiet mornings here, where the only sounds were birds chirping and the distant hum of the highway. As he walked past towers of stacked cars and piles of metal scraps, something caught his eye behind a wall of crushed vehicles. He heard the soft sound of classical music playing. Jake frowned, puzzled. Pete never played music, and the yard was supposed to be empty at this hour. Curiosity getting the better of him, he followed the melody deeper into the maze of automotive remains. What he found took his breath away. In a small clearing surrounded by vintage car bodies, a young woman sat cross-legged on a blanket. She wore paint-stained overalls and had her dark hair tied back in a messy bun. Around her were several canvases, each displaying the most beautiful paintings Jake had ever seen. She was transforming the rusty, broken cars into works of art, capturing their beauty in ways he never imagined possible. The woman was so focused on her painting that she didn't notice Jake watching. Her brush moved with graceful precision as she added delicate touches of gold to what appeared to be a sunset reflecting off a car's chrome bumper. The portable radio beside her played a soft violin concerto, creating an almost magical atmosphere. In the middle of the junkyard, Jake stood there for several minutes, mesmerized. He had always seen this place as functional, somewhere to find parts and make repairs. But through her eyes, through her art, he was seeing it completely differently. The rust became warm autumn colors, the dented metal became interesting textures, and the broken glass sparkled like diamonds in her paintings. When she finally looked up and saw him, she gasped and nearly dropped her brush. Her cheeks flushed red with embarrassment as she scrambled to her feet. Jake quickly raised his hands in a peaceful gesture, not wanting to scare her away. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "I didn't mean to startle you. I'm Jake. I come here sometimes to look for car parts." I heard the music, and he gestured toward her paintings, still amazed. "These are incredible." The woman clutched her brush nervously. "I'm Zoe," she said quietly. "I know I probably shouldn't be here, but Pete said it was okay as long as I didn't disturb anything. I'll leave if you want me to." "No, please don't leave," Jake said quickly. "I've never seen anything like this. How do you see beauty in all this broken metal?" Zoe's eyes lit up at his genuine interest. She walked over to one of her paintings, a stunning piece showing a 1950s Cadillac with wildflowers growing through its broken windows. "Everything has a story," she explained. "These cars lived full lives. They took families on vacation, brought babies home from the hospital, were first cars for teenagers learning to drive. Just because they're broken doesn't mean they're not beautiful." Jake found himself drawn to her passion, her unique way of seeing the world. "I fix cars for a living," he admitted, "but I've never thought about them the way you do. I just see problems to solve, parts to replace, and I see memories and dreams." Zoe replied with a smile. "Maybe we see different sides of the same thing." As they talked, Jake learned that Zoe was an art student who couldn't afford a proper studio. She had discovered this peaceful corner of the junkyard and asked Pete's permission to paint here. What started as a desperate search for free space had become her sanctuary, a place where she could create without judgment or interruption. "Would you like to see more?" she asked shyly. Jake nodded eagerly, and Zoe began showing him canvas after canvas. Each painting told a story of transformation, of finding beauty in abandonment, of giving new life to forgotten things. As she spoke about her art, her initial nervousness faded, replaced by confidence and joy. Jake realized he was witnessing something special, not just her talent, but her spirit, her ability to see magic where others saw only junk. Understanding each other over the next few weeks, Jake found himself visiting the junkyard more often than necessary. He would arrive early, hoping to catch Zoe setting up her easel, and stay late, watching her work in the golden light of sunset. Each time, he discovered something new about her artistic vision and her gentle soul. Zoe had grown up in foster care, moving from home to home throughout her childhood. Art had been her constant companion, her way of making sense of a world that often felt unstable and unwelcoming. She painted because it helped her find beauty even in the most broken situations, much like her own life had been. I used to paint in library corners, park benches, anywhere I could find a quiet spot, she told Jake one afternoon as she worked on a piece featuring a school bus, covered in morning glory vines. But this place, it's different. It's like all these cars are waiting for someone to remember them, to honor what they used to be. Jake began bringing her coffee and sandwiches, claiming he was getting them for himself anyway. The truth was, he looked forward to their conversations more than anything else in his day. Zoe had a way of making him see his own work differently. When he told her about restoring a classic Mustang, she would ask about the car's history, wondering about the stories it held. Her questions made him realize that he wasn't just fixing machines. He was preserving memories. One rainy morning, Jake arrived to find Zoe huddled under a tarp, trying to protect her paintings from the weather. Without hesitation, he helped her move everything into an old garage on the property that Pete rarely used. As they worked together, hanging her canvases along the walls, Jake was struck by how the dingy space was transformed into something magical by her art. You know, Jake said, stepping back to admire the impromptu gallery, you could have a real exhibition with these. People should see what you can do. Zoe shook her head sadly. Art shows cost money I don't have. Besides, who would want to buy paintings of junk cars? These aren't junk cars, Jake said firmly. These are masterpieces, and you're not just any artist. You're someone who can make people fall in love with things they thought were worthless. That afternoon, Jake made a decision. He drove to the local coffee shop where he knew the owner. Rita displayed local artwork on the walls. He convinced her to come see Zoe's work, promising it would be worth her time. When Rita saw the paintings, she was speechless. She immediately offered Zoe a month-long exhibition in her coffee shop. Zoe cried when Jake told her the news. No one had ever believed in her work enough to help make her dreams possible. As she hugged him in gratitude, Jake realized his feelings for her had grown far beyond admiration for her talent. He was falling in love with her spirit, her resilience, and the way she made the world brighter just by being in it. The preparation for the exhibition brought them even closer together. Jake helped Zoe frame her paintings, and she taught him to see the artistic potential in everyday objects. They spent hours talking about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. Jake learned that Zoe had never had anyone who truly supported her ambitions, and Zoe discovered that Jake had always felt like his work was just a job, until she showed him its deeper meaning. You make me feel like what I do matters, Jake told her one evening as they watched the sunset paint the junkyard in brilliant oranges and purples. You make me feel like I matter, Zoe replied softly, taking his hand. In that moment, surrounded by the broken cars that had brought them together, they both knew their lives had changed forever. The junkyard had become more than a place of discarded things. It had become the birthplace of something beautiful and new. Challenges and Growth Coffee Shop exhibition was a tremendous success. People came from all over town to see Zoe's unique artwork, amazed by her ability to find beauty in abandonment. Several paintings sold on the opening night, giving Zoe her first real income as an artist. But with success came unexpected challenges that tested both her relationship with Jake and her newfound confidence. A wealthy art collector named Victoria Ashford attended the exhibition and was immediately taken with Zoe's work. She offered to become Zoe's patron, promising to fund her art education and provide her with a proper studio in the city. The catch was that Zoe would need to move away and focus exclusively on more commercial subjects that would sell in high-end galleries. Junkyard art is charming for a small town, Victoria explained during a private meeting with Zoe, but if you want to make it in the real art world, you need to elevate your subjects. Think landscapes, portraits, abstract pieces that appeal to serious collectors. Zoe felt torn between the opportunity of a lifetime and staying true to her artistic vision. She had never had the chance for formal training or financial security, but accepting Victoria's offer would mean leaving behind everything that inspired her, including Jake. Jake noticed Zoe's distraction and growing anxiety. When she finally told him about Victoria's offer, he felt his heart sink. He wanted what was best for Zoe, but the thought of losing her was devastating. Still, he knew he couldn't be selfish with her future. "This is your chance," Jake said, trying to hide his pain. "You deserve every opportunity to succeed." "But what about us?" Zoe asked, tears in her eyes. "What about this place? That means so much to both of us." Jake looked around the junkyard that had become their special sanctuary. "Dreams are more important than places," he said quietly. "And you're more important than my feelings." The conflict weighed heavily on both of them. Zoe began having trouble painting, her usual joy replaced by confusion and doubt. She would start a canvas only to abandon it, unsure whether she should paint what her heart wanted or what might advance her career. Jake threw himself into work, fixing car after car, trying to distract himself from the possibility of losing the woman who had changed his entire world. One evening, Jake found Zoe sitting in their makeshift gallery, staring at her paintings with tears streaming down her face. She had been offered everything she thought she wanted, but it felt like betraying everything she truly valued. "I don't know who I am without this place," she whispered. "Without these stories, these forgotten dreams. Victoria wants me to paint pretty pictures for rich people's walls, but these cars, they're real. They have souls." Jake sat beside her, taking her hand. "Then don't go," he said simply. "But the opportunity, will there be other opportunities?" Jake interrupted gently. "But there will never be another you, another artist who sees the world the way you do. Don't let anyone change that vision." That night, they walked through the junkyard together, Zoe pointing out details she had never shared before. She showed Jake the school bus where she imagined children had laughed and learned, the taxi that had probably carried people to important moments in their lives, the family sedan that might have been someone's first car. Each vehicle had become a character in her artistic story. "I realized something," Zoe said as they sat on the hood of an old pickup truck, looking up at the stars. "Success isn't about painting what other people want to buy. It's about staying true to what makes your heart sing." The next morning, Zoe called Victoria and politely declined her offer. Instead, she decided to apply for grants and scholarships that would let her pursue education. While maintaining her artistic integrity, she would find a way to grow as an artist without abandoning the vision that made her work special. Jake was proud of Zoe's decision, but more than that, he was amazed by her strength. She had been offered an easy path to success and chose the more difficult road because it was authentic to who she was. In that moment, he knew without a doubt that she was the strongest, most beautiful person he had ever met, inside and out. Love Bloom Spring arrived early that year, bringing with it a sense of renewal and possibility. Zoe's decision to stay had strengthened her resolve and her art. She received a small grant to continue her education part-time while maintaining her unique artistic focus. The junkyard had become even more special to both of them, a symbol of their commitment to authenticity and to each other. Jake had been working on a secret project for weeks. In a corner of his auto shop, hidden under tarps, he was restoring a 1965 Mustang convertible. It wasn't for a customer, it was for Zoe. He had found the car in the back of the junkyard, rusted and forgotten, but he could see its potential. Much like how Zoe saw beauty in broken things, Jake saw the possibility of bringing this classic back to life. Every evening after Zoe finished painting, Jake would work on the Mustang. He replaced the engine, rebuilt the transmission, and carefully restored the interior to its original glory. But the most important part was the paint job. Instead of choosing a standard color, Jake decided to have the car painted with one of Zoe's designs. He secretly photographed her painting of the sunset reflecting off chrome and had it recreated across the car's body. Meanwhile, Zoe was working on her most ambitious project yet. She had decided to create a series of paintings that told the complete story of their junkyard, from the forgotten vehicles to the new life and love that had grown among them. The centerpiece would be a large canvas showing the transformation of broken things into something beautiful, a metaphor for her own journey from loneliness to love. As they spent more time together, their relationship deepened beyond their shared appreciation for art and restoration. They discovered they both loved old movies and would spend Saturday evenings watching classics. While sharing popcorn in Jake's living room, they found they could talk for hours about everything and nothing, comfortable in each other's presence in a way neither had experienced before. One warm April evening, Jake finally revealed his surprise. He blindfolded Zoe and led her to his shop, his heart pounding with nervousness. When he removed the blindfold, Zoe gasped in amazement. The Mustang sat gleaming under the shop lights, her own artwork flowing across its surface like liquid sunset. "Jake, it's impossible," she whispered, running her fingers along the painted design. "How did you? You showed me that broken things can become beautiful again," Jake said softly. "This car was rusting away in the corner of our junkyard, forgotten and worthless. But I saw it through your eyes, and I knew it could live again." Tears streamed down Zoe's face as she realized the deeper meaning of his gesture. Just as she had found beauty in discarded things, he had seen the potential in her when she felt most worthless and alone. They had both been broken in their own ways, and they had healed each other. "There's something else," Jake said, his voice trembling slightly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring he had crafted himself, using metal from the first car part they had found together and setting it with a small diamond that caught the light like the sparkles in Zoe's paintings. "Zoe, you've shown me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about seeing the beauty in someone's imperfections and helping them shine. Will you marry me?" Through her tears, Zoe nodded yes, as Jake slipped the ring onto her finger. She knew that her search for belonging was finally over. She had found not just love, but a partner who understood her soul, someone who saw her as royalty even when she felt like discarded junk. They drove the restored Mustang back to the junkyard. As the sun set behind them, ready to begin the next chapter of their story together, the place where they had first met would always be special to them. A reminder that the most beautiful love stories often begin in the most unexpected places. Forever in the junkyard 1 year later, Zoe and Jake stood in the same clearing where they had first met, but now it was decorated with strings of lights and wildflowers. They had decided to hold their wedding in the junkyard, surrounded by the art and memories that had brought them together. Old Pete had given them his blessing, and their small group of friends and family gathered among the vintage cars to witness their union. Zoe wore a simple white dress she had found at a thrift store and altered herself, adding delicate painted flowers to the hem that matched her artwork. Jake wore his grandfather's suit, carefully preserved and tailored to fit. They had written their own vows, promising to always see the beauty in each other and to never stop creating something wonderful. Together, "Jake," Zoe said, her voice clear and strong, "you found me when I felt like something discarded and forgotten. You showed me that I wasn't junk waiting to be thrown away, but a treasure waiting to be discovered. You make me feel like royalty every single day." Jake's eyes filled with tears as he replied, "Zoe, you taught me that broken doesn't mean worthless, that every ending can be a new beginning. You transformed not just this place, but my entire world. You are my queen, and I promise to spend every day proving that you deserve a crown." After the ceremony, they celebrated with a reception in Jake's shop, now converted into a gallery space where Zoe's paintings were permanently displayed. She had become a successful artist, not by abandoning her vision, but by staying true to it. Her Junkyard series had gained recognition throughout the region, and she now taught art classes to local children, showing them how to find beauty in unexpected places. Jake's auto repair business had also grown, partly because customers enjoyed seeing Zoe's artwork while they waited. He had started specializing in classic car restoration, combining his mechanical skills with an artistic eye that Zoe had helped him develop. Together, they had created something neither could have achieved alone. As the evening wound down and their guests departed, Jake and Zoe found themselves back in their original spot, sitting on their old blanket among the cars that had witnessed their love story unfold. The portable radio still played classical music, and Zoe's easel stood ready for tomorrow's painting session. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't heard my music?" That first morning, Zoe asked, leaning against Jake's shoulder. Jake smiled, pulling her closer. "I think we would have found each other somehow. Maybe not here, maybe not then, but eventually, some connections are too strong to miss. They looked around at the junkyard, no longer seeing broken cars and scrap metal, but seeing the foundation of their love story. Every rusted bumper and cracked windshield represented a moment in their journey together. From strangers to friends to soulmates, old Pete had decided to retire and had offered to sell them the junkyard. They were planning to transform it into an art retreat and restoration center, a place where other people could discover the magic of finding beauty in broken things. They would keep the essential character of the place while adding studios and workshop spaces. "I have something for you," Zoe said, reaching behind her easel. She pulled out a canvas she had been working on in secret, a painting that showed their wedding ceremony from above, with all the cars arranged like a cathedral, and beams of golden light streaming down on the celebrating couple. "It's us," Jake whispered in amazement. "It's our story. It's our beginning," Zoe corrected. "The real masterpiece is what we create together from here." As they sat holding each other under the stars, surrounded by the beautiful wreckage that had brought them together, they knew that their love story was just getting started. They had proven that sometimes the most precious treasures are found in the most unlikely places, and that true love sees royalty even in a junkyard. The next morning would bring new projects, new paintings, and new adventures, but tonight they were content to be exactly where their story began. Two souls who had found their perfect match among the beautiful ruins of forgotten dreams, ready to spend forever turning broken things into something wonderful together. Their love had transformed not just themselves, but everyone who witnessed it, proving that when you see someone with the eyes of love, even a junkyard can become a palace, and even the most ordinary person can become royalty in your eyes.